Okay, perfect. I think that couldn't have been better. Just trying to get the Friday and the weekend vibes in with the take it easy vibe here. And okay, Simon finally picked everyone while chatting. Mitch, how are you doing? It's been a long time. So happy to have you here. I'm really looking forward to sharing some fresh ideas with you. So that's gonna be fun. I think the chat is gonna be pretty active today. I can see a lot of other people who have DM'd me. So folks, please don't DM me. Pick everyone when you're chatting, so that it's kind of a community chat. And if you have good things to say, that is, if you have bad things to say, then you can just DM me. All right, so let's jump right in. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. We are expecting quite a crowd, so I'll just let people join in as I continue to walk you through what we have here. And a little bit about why we picked what we picked. So nudge marketing, I just felt that that's a field, or that's an area that's overexploited, yet you could say underdone. And the reason I say that is because everybody does pop-ups and messaging on the site, but not a lot of psychology goes behind the way that you should do it and the way that works. So just like our webinar each few weeks that we kind of come up with ideas, we have a range of ideas that we're going to walk you through. And I promise there'll be a few that you can just straight away go and implement. So that'll be great. And if you still are curious and you would want some specific ideas for your own store, we're happy to take a look at that. So just reply to my email when I send it to you after the webinar itself. So I want to jump right in. Not a lot of complex stuff going on. A few quick notes. If you're chatting, again, pick everyone when you're doing it. I have about 4 other DMs. So hi to everyone who just DM'd me saying wherever they're from. And the other thing is, if you have questions, I'm happy to take them while I do this, because I'm the only one here. So I'm happy to kind of stop. And if the question is about what I'm talking about, I'm happy to take it then and there. Otherwise, I'd recommend you put it in the Q&A and we'll take it up at the end. So I'll leave a solid 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. So let's jump in. Now, the whole idea behind nudge marketing was to, instead of prompting people to do things, persuading them to do it. And that's why, the sub copy here. And one of the reasons, one of the other things that really stood out was, we thought, okay, what could be the best way to kind of begin talking about nudges and give people the perfect example. And I couldn't think of anything else better than the Netflix nudge. In this case, you're not even required to click. It just nudges you to watch another episode. And if whatever you're watching is good content, which is supposed to be true if it's on Netflix, you are likely to stick around for another one. For example, my wife and I were binging on MasterChef Australia. And I don't know for what reason. Don't ask me why, but it's fun. If you've not watched it, I highly recommend watching MasterChef Australia, not any other MasterChef, not Hell's Kitchen, not Gordon Ramsay's show. Go and watch MasterChef. It's really fun. But anyway, so the problem with watching something like that is it's a black hole. You get sucked in, and then product managers do a good job of using nudges the right way and using them so that they work the way they do. And interestingly, when you think about nudges, they are essentially built on the concept of heuristics. Now, heuristics are mental shortcuts, for the lack of a better way to put it. It's essentially your mind deciding to do things very quickly, very efficiently, without having to process a lot of data, without having to think too much, right? It's when you instinctively sometimes know things, and it's not when you instinctively know that you need to have a beer. That's not a nudge. I'm sorry, but yes, if you do see, maybe a microbrewery while you're driving, you're like, hey, you know what? Let's have some fresh beer, and so that they essentially tried to place that entire apparatus outside of the brewery so that you can see it and you can kind of walk in. So nudges essentially are built on the concept of heuristics, and they are nothing but mental shortcuts. So what you are aiming for when you work on nudges is you're essentially trying to leverage. There are 2 systems of our mind, and you're trying to leverage system 1. So the system that is essentially unconscious. It's instant. It's generally speaking, on autopilot. And system 2 is the rational system. So I don't know if everybody has read that book. I highly recommend reading Thinking Fast and Slow. I think 99% of the people joining us today are entrepreneurs, and some of you are marketing leaders. And I just really strongly, it's one of the books that really changed the way that I think about things. There are a lot of books that have done that, but I really recommend reading that book. But generally speaking, with nudges, especially in the shopping context, what you're trying to go after is to influence system one of the user's mind. You don't need to have them sit back, process anything, do anything logical, do anything that requires the user to make a large kind of intellectual decision. That's not what you're kind of going after. So you're going after intuition, you're going after instinct, and that's what you're trying to do. So now that we've kind of established the psychological background or the psychological groundwork of how nudges work, let's jump into it. And we're going to start with the not so great ways of doing nudges. And now it's just ideas, ideas, ideas. So yeah, I mean, try and take screenshots of whatever you like and whatever you want to replicate on your site, but think it through. And I'm going to walk you through why we picked the ones that we picked. The problem with doing nudges when there's already too much information is they're going to get lost, and they're going to increase what we call cognitive load on the person that's looking at your product page or whatever it is that you're trying to sell on. And that can create a lot of issues because then you're relying on the user's ability to skim through, the finer points that you're trying to make. So the bad way to do a nudge is, for example, in this case, there's reviews, there's the earn 22 ping points. What does it even mean? It's just too much that's happening here. So and also the copy doesn't kind of do. They're actually selling a vitamin C mask. And if you see the copy for their loyalty program, it says, check into Hotel Pink and start earning rewards today, right? So that the marketer here is trying to be fancy, but I don't think they need to be fancy. They can keep it simple. And it's important that you just do one thing at a time. For example, in this entire page, it's really simple. What you're essentially trying to do here is move the customer from a one-time purchase to a subscription. That's it. There's not a lot happening. You're not trying to do a loyalty and a subscription, and here's 10 other ways to buy the product, and here's another variant. So you're not trying to do too much. Try to do very little and do it well. And that's kind of going to be the theme as I continue to walk you through other ideas. Let's move to the next one. Full screen pop-ups, a strict no-no. They get results, but you lose traffic as well. And the problem with full screen pop-ups also, not only on mobile, but also on desktop, is if you lose traffic, especially senior traffic, which finds it hard to close the pop-up, right? If you are in an industry that gets a lot of senior traffic, which means people who are older, and then closing the pop-up can get hard for those people. They will just leave, and you will lose traffic that has the capacity to buy and needs time. So it's important that you use a hello bar at the top or at the bottom. That's the right way to do it. That's the subtle way to do it. Or you could do a non-intrusive pop-up where the button for the pop-up can sit in one corner of the screen. And if they really want, only the people who spot it are the ones who are going to use it. But full screen pop-ups, the other problem with people bouncing off of your site, especially if that pop-up loads in the first 10 or 15 seconds, is that it sends a horrible signal to Google, which means, so Google essentially gives you a lot of credit if your time on site is very high. So if they came organically, they were looking for a vitamin C face mask, for example, and they landed on your site organically. And if they've spent a minute or more, ideally more than 5 minutes or even more than that, the more the better, which is why originally blogs used to rank really well, because generally people were looking for answers to their questions. For example, how does the keto diet work? And you would go on this blog that talks about how it works, what is ketosis, what kind of food you need to eat, and so on and so forth. Generally speaking, that's the reason those blogs would rank, is because you would spend that much time on it. But if you have a full screen pop-up, which makes you lose even 5 or 10% of your traffic, it sends the signal to Google that the content that you showed after Google sent traffic to you was not relevant. So you're not going to rank for the stuff that people are coming for in that instant. I hope that makes sense. The other thing is, I think a lot of people try to shame their customers into using the pop-up. No, I'll pay the full price, or no, I don't like discounts and all of that. I understand you're trying to be smart. I understand that, and a lot of pop-up tools have this template by default, and it's okay. But I just feel that conversion rate optimization has gotten down. It used to be about superficial stuff when internet was new. Tricking customers into doing stuff, clickbait, etc., was considered okay, and then people started to call it out, right? So now if you go to a YouTube video that uses a clickbait title, the comments are just hate. Everybody hates clickbaits, right? this happened when I was in the Las Vegas hotel, and nothing happens on the video. And so you don't want to do that. Similarly, you want to be kind of kind to your customers. So if you still want to do something like this, where you want to avoid see, the purpose that this button plays is, generally speaking, people don't even look at what's written on the pop-up. People don't look at what's written on the pop-up at all. So you're just trying to make it harder for them to close so that they actually see the offer, which is the 10% off or some other incentive that you're trying to give them. There are several other ways to achieve this, right? And I feel that it's a function of playing with copy. So I'll allow you to come up with your own innovative way of doing this. We can look at your site and come up with stuff that is specific to you. But generally speaking, we've seen that shaming your shoppers versus A/B. So we do a lot of A/B testing. Of course, we have more than 300 customers. We are running an average of 2 to 3 tests for them every month, and so we're running about 12,000 experiments a year. So we do this at scale, and we have exposure to a lot of data, which gives us the ability to just say if something is wrong or something is right. Don't leave room for doubt. So this is again, clickbait. In this case, you're selling a shower gel, and you're saying the pricing starts from £8 here. And the problem with that is when you open it, that's going to be the travel size. So it's going to be this really tiny one use, so it's obviously an expensive product, right? And you really don't want to, again, don't trick your customers. When you want to nudge customers into understanding what the price looks like, you want to make sure your pricing looks smaller. I have 2 other tricks for it. And we have a whole webinar we did for this the last time, which was purely about pricing tactics. And it's recorded. It's on our website. I recommend you go and check that out as well. It's purely about smart ways to do pricing so that it is more convincing. That's really what the webinar was trying to cover. But in this case, a couple of ideas that I can give you is, generally speaking, on your site, place the most expensive products on the left. So if you're on the collections page and you have about 9 products showing up, the first column has to be the most expensive, the second column less expensive, and the third column least expensive. What that does is psychologically, you're setting the expectation, because everybody consumes content from left to right. And psychologically, you're setting the expectation that the prices are high, and then that makes the second and the third product. It's called anchoring, right? Like, for example, Apple launched these VR headset. They're called the Vision Pro. They're going to cost you both of your kidneys, and they're so expensive, which now suddenly make the Meta headsets look significantly more value for money. And so that's what happened with my cousins and everybody that was talking about it. The moment Apple launched the VR headsets, everybody went and bought the Meta headset. They're like, okay, there's a lot that's common. There's a lot that this one's going to do that Apple's not going to do. There's a difference, the huge difference between the two, right? The massive difference between the 2 products. But still, everybody went and bought the Meta headset because Apple anchored the price so high that it made spending $500 on something you don't need obvious. So that's something to think about and keep in mind. Keep things simple, keep it transparent. In this case, for example, $129 product is available for $109. So you know how much money you are saving. There are 2 quantities, 3 colors, 1 not in stock. You can pay using installments. There's, shipping is free, and then there's warranty. So there's the simplicity is something we've seen works really well. In a lot of cases, we see Shopify stores in the hope to optimize for conversions, in the hope to excite the customer or persuade the customer, just add stuff to the product page. And sometimes addition can be subtraction. Subtraction can be addition, if you know what I mean. Sometimes removing things can add a lot of value. So just spend some time on your product page today and just think about the pitch you're trying to make to a customer who's never seen your product, right? There are platforms like user testing available, where you can pay some money and get strangers to look at your product or your website and then comment on what they like or don't like. Or you can just take an audit from us, and we're happy to tear it apart based on our experience of having optimized hundreds of e-commerce websites. The other thing that I feel that businesses are doing more and more is plugging in different tools or apps that essentially try to oversell. And in this case, for example, this is a personalized recommendation, and we were surfing this site and we were looking at stuff that was completely unrelated to what you see in recommendations here. Now, the reason it was showing that, it was probably working on a logic that was showing the shopper most bought products or highest purchased products from a different category. So essentially, it was a cross sell, right? For lack of a better example, I'm buying leather bags and I'm looking for a laptop bag, and it's showing me recommendations which are chosen for me of duffels and maybe you know maybe a trolley bag. And so that's not ideal. It's definitely not chosen for me. And the customer can see through that. So honest personalization goes a long way because it adds impact. So one of the easiest, most intuitive ways to do it is ask the customer what they want. And I feel that not enough companies do this. We have a full-blown product built for this. So we do this for a lot of our customers, and we essentially build out a wizard, and it works like a dream. So in this case, for example, you're just asking them, hey, where are you on your coffee journey? Are you a connoisseur? Are you a are you pretty much a barista now? And then basis that, you send them to the products that make most sense for them, right? So for someone who's a connoisseur, you can send them to these really small batch coffee bean bags that they can buy, or whatever it is. And for someone who's just a casual coffee lover, start them off with one of those bundles of instant coffee plus beans plus a crusher and maybe an aeropress. You know, so the intention is to put, it's okay to ask the customers. One of the other things that I recommend doing, and there are multiple ways of executing something like this. This is one such way. Let's say you're selling personal care products. If you're selling personal care products, for example, the journey can begin with the problems that the personal care products are solving. For example, you can say, hey, how can we help you today? And it says, hey, I have dandruff, or I have dry skin, or I have oily skin, or whatever it is. So you can kind of list those out. So then your customer is not shopping basis skin, hair, all of that, right? The traditional ways in which a Sephora is laid out, for example. They are shopping on the basis of what their problems are. And that's one honest way to personalize, as opposed to just showing, hey, you know what? We chose the products for you. We don't know anything about you, but we think we are right. So it just doesn't seem right. And it's better not to do it. Also, vague nudges don't matter. I often see people have cart call to actions that are just shaking for no reason, or they are popping out, or if every time you add something to cart, and so you're just trying to push. You generally, psychologically, I don't blame us. I don't blame the fact that we all want the customer to just buy. That's what we all want. At the end of the day, we spend a lot of money driving the traffic we get on our sites, and we want the customer to buy. And so we try everything possible to move the customer along the funnel. Hey, I really wish this guy is added it to cart. I really wish that shaker goes to the cart. And then you have that cart that's shaking, and it's just a distraction. So I just recommend, all of that is not going to matter, right? When the customer is ready to buy is when they will go to the cart, and the reasons, or the real reason they'll actually buy, ultimately will depend on whether you help them find something they love, product discovery, whether they are convinced that they want to buy it, which means, do they trust you? Do they trust the brand? Do they trust the product? Do they like the price? Could they not find a different competitor? It's so easy to research these days. Almost everything has a YouTube review. You wouldn't believe it. Almost everything has a YouTube review. And that's the reason, especially for purchases above $100, everybody is watching reviews or doing their research and then buying, except for, of course, you're selling luxury products, in which case you have customer or clientele that doesn't care for reviews. They care for quality and they'll pay anything for it. So my point is, it's important to nudge your shoppers towards distinctive actions. A quick view on the collections page, showing them the cart once they've added something to the cart, like in this case, and then ask them, do you want to continue shopping, or do you want to view cart and check out? Or, hey, you know what? You might also like our socks, or you might like this other product we've got. So I feel, doing it with ingenuity really goes a long way. Let's move to the next section. We are about 23 minutes, and I want to take the next 15 minutes to walk you through some of these other interesting ideas we have, and then I'll open it up for questions and answers. Okay, this is by far the most important takeaway or idea I want to give you on the call today. Don't underestimate copy. I have a few friends that run copywriting businesses, and the impact they're able to create is incredible. I feel that product description, for example, is probably one of the most ignored parts of most e-commerce websites. It's the It's the only thing that helps you pitch your product, your story really well. And I just feel that businesses don't do enough. They just spend an outsized amount of time on product packaging, product imagery, and just the basic stuff, including the way the price look, the name of the product. So, but the description is where you can actually convert what you may call a healthy skeptic, right? Somebody who is diving into your site, who's taking the 2 minutes to understand if they want to buy this product or not. So it's extremely important that in this case, for example, a beer brand says, get this product on us. But what they really mean is it's free shipping. So you're not getting the product on them, you're getting the product on them, if that makes sense. So it's interesting, isn't it? And it's an interesting way to do it. It's highlighted in bright yellow, so you're not likely to miss it. There is another reason why I feel this is the most important takeaway is I feel that even if you don't have a brand story and you're just, if you're a trading business where you're buying stuff and you're selling stuff, it's important to still find that story in the products you do. For example, for all we know, your products are, manufactured on US soil or whichever country you're from, right? So that could be important for your customers. It could be that you have sustainable packaging. So your product is probably leather goods, but you're at least packing it in sustainable material. Or it could be that you donate $1 for every sale on towards something. So I don't know what it's going to be, but the interesting or the important thing here is to use unusual ways of saying things to draw attention to the stuff that matters, right? Add 4 items in your cart and we'll cover the cost of the least expensive. Add 7 items, we'll cover the cost of two, and add 10 items in the cart. So it's interesting what they're trying to do. Generally, for me, for these offers, it becomes very hard to find the 4 items that I like. So that's one interesting thing. The other thing I feel businesses do wrong is they think that if they say that they can be trusted, they will be trusted. Okay, and I think ConvertCard is guilty of that too. We used to run an ad for a long time that said trusted by 200 plus businesses. It works, but it doesn't work on the really smart customer that you're trying to appeal to. So in this case, what's really happening is there is a review summarization. So if you click on it, it just essentially has summarized and given you a couple of paragraphs. We also have a similar feature. We use generative AI to analyze the reviews and we show it in a pop-up. So if you click on it, you will see reviews that it'll essentially sum it up. Hey, you know what? The material is great. The packaging is great. And it stays on for 4 hours. So it's a fantastic product. But some people complained about how the shade might not be right for a certain skin color. You could kind of spin it in the way that you want to spin it. I feel there is a phobia of bad reviews, which is fine. Obviously, it should be, but you need to leave some of them in. I feel everybody is using Yotpo or equivalent tools to publish reviews on the site are just moderating all of the bad reviews away. So there are 50 reviews, all of them are 5-star reviews. And that's not true. Your customers know it's not true. And if that is true, you should be doubling every 6 months in size as a company because you would have insane word of mouth. But that's not true. We both know it's not true. So leave some of those bad reviews in. And it shouldn't be that you're leaving bad reviews in which look crazy. Like, for example, I was interviewing someone for a sales role earlier today. And I asked them, can you tell me something that you feel you could be better at? They say, you know what, I'm just too hardworking. And you obviously know it's BS. And that's the most cliche, you could say, weakness somebody could probably talk about. So please don't do that. Don't say, hey, you know what, this product, it was too much quantity. We couldn't finish it. It's obviously fake. It's not good. Your customers will not believe you. So please ensure that you rely on what we call blemishing effect. By the way, most of these ideas actually came from our amazing content team. I recommend you also check out our blog. We put in a lot of effort in writing A-class content. Everything that we write, we truly believe in. We don't use any AI to write content, and we do a lot of it on the basis of our own optimization experiences. So I wholeheartedly believe that you will learn at least 5 things if you spend half an hour on the blog today. Moving on, choices. Now, the thing about selling products that have a lot of options is you're making it harder for the customer to buy, fundamentally. For example, printing websites that, let's say if you were on a site that is selling business cards, and we've worked with a bunch of those. it's just crazy what they're trying to do. When you start building your business card, you start from a template. Then they say, okay, what kind of paper do you want? Do you want rounded edges? Do you want lamination? What what is the text that goes on the card? What size of card? Do you want a square or a rectangular card? Do you want 100 or 200 in number? Do you want free shipping or fast shipping? There's just too much happening. So what I recommend is create a most ideal combination of selections for your customer and just make it easy for them. So in this case, for example, pre-select your best-selling options and just make it obvious for them. In this case, interestingly, it's also the second most expensive one. So the Canyon is probably and it's also dependent on the size. So it's what it is. But my limited point is pre-select options for customers so that it's easy for them to make decisions, and don't make your customer do the hard work essentially. Also, center stage effect in options works really well. Generally speaking, you want the most important whenever it comes to options, keep the most important option right in the center, highlight it, and that psychological nudge will really work. One of the things I've seen, and we've done experiments, like we used to work with this company that's called Backblade. They were also on Shark Tank. So it's a blade for you to shave your back. And we've done a lot of these kind of experiments for them. And interestingly, whenever we used to say something is popular, it wouldn't work as well as it would. Because what most people would think in that scenario is that product is it's a personal use product. And the fact that it's possible, there were customers always thinking, okay, maybe most people are like that. I might not be that way. I might need the smaller blade size or the much larger blade size because either I'm a different shape of back or maybe I'm too hairy or whatever it is. So it's important that whenever you are nudging your customers towards something, you are not also opinionated, right? It's, for example, one of my friends runs a real estate business in Melbourne, Australia, and he buys lands and constructs houses and sells them. And one of the most important advices that I've given him, and he wholeheartedly agreed, is stop building opinionated houses, right? For example, having a ceiling that has wood panels. Who's buying that. So it's extremely important to keep things neutral and not make recommend. Most people buy X, and then there are people who don't want to be most people. So gotta keep that in mind. Site search is extremely important. This number here is underrated. We've seen cases where visitors that come to the site and make the search convert at least 5 times better. And so search can make a lot of difference to your business. And one of the things you want to really do is make sure your search is easily accessible, right? So have a huge search bar. Make sure it's sticky. So even if I scroll down, it should continue to stick on the top. Make sure it's immersive. So ConvertCard, for example, has something called IntelliSearch. I recommend you go and check either newair.com or asiamarket.com. These are all our customers. Fantastic search deployments on both of them. So make sure it's instant and you see a lot of options, you can filter through them. But even before someone has searched, for example, in this case, you already show them the suggestions. So I just went to the search and I'm seeing categories and I'm also seeing new products. Very interesting nudge. I feel this is a great implementation. And with search, never let shoppers at a dead end. I see too many websites with 0 search result pages being boring and having essentially nothing. And that's obviously not a good thing. Now, finally, does your brand or does your business allow you to give your shoppers an in-store experience? So if that is relevant to you, there are a lot of SaaS products available, which are not that expensive, that allow you to do something like this. There are personalization tools. There are tools that will allow your customers to upload their images, so on and so forth. So please try and do this. Go the extra mile. Spend money on this. This part of the experience is irreplaceable. Comparisons work extremely well. Not many businesses do that. Again, you can, if you're on Shopify or any of the other major platforms, there are simple tools that can help you deploy a comparison related. But again, with comparison as well, your product description really matters. The richness of the information of products really matters. So ensure that you do it well. Moving further, how can you make the page itself come alive? And we have a bunch of different clients that have tried to do this. This is one such example. where if you're hovering on the product, you can see the entire product. So that's an easy way to do it. It essentially loads a GIF, and that GIF then kind of circles through. I've seen fashion sites for collections pages. Every alternate, collection sort of row of products is, instead of product images, is videos. So the entire collections page is essentially a bunch of videos. They're actually GIFs, but yeah, you get what I mean. So super cool image flip and the quick add option. I instantly go to the cart, makes a ton of sense. Ton of sense. So this is a masterclass in nudges, where you're just nudging the customer. You're engaging them, so they are essentially continuing to engage. Uh, Second, you're giving them a next step with the quick add. You don't want them to go to the next level. Create the product with the customer. So I spoke about uploading the customer image to pick a glasses. So if that is relevant to your business, that's one. This is an even more powerful one. I'm sure all of you have shopped on Nike.com. And if you're buying an Air Force One from Nike, for example, you have two options. You can buy one of the ones that they have, which is the one that most people do, or you can customize your own Nike Air Force One. Interestingly, there's something called an endowment effect, which means if you've invested the customer into the product, they are very, very highly likely to check out, which is also true for printing businesses. So I go back to my earlier example. Now I'm a visiting card, printing business, and I've entered my details. I've picked the paper I want, and I'm just going next, next, next. Now three levels into my customization experience. There's a very small chance that I'll abandon. So with such cases, Nike does it extremely well. Where if you customize your own Air Force One, you can come back. So you can obviously buy it and they charge a premium on it. But interestingly, Nike saves that information. So if you go back to the site, the first thing you will see is Nike Air Force One by you. And it makes you feel pretty awesome that Nike's website features a product that's by me. And they have a very solid personalization algorithms running behind it. Naturally, they've spent millions of dollars building that and a massive team as well. But you could do it without having to spend that money. The other thing is filtration and sorting. I feel that everybody is kind of sticking to their theme defaults. You could really go all out with making filtration easy, use color thumbnails, make it sticky, making it easy to access. I feel it's important to let the customer find what they want. Product discovery is by far the most important thing you need to solve for, especially if you have more than 30 products on your site. Because if you've not solved that, then the customer has not even found something that they like, and there's absolutely zero chance they're going to buy something. So if your problem is abandonment, website abandonment from the home or the collections page, then laser focus on product discovery. If your problem is you are driving traffic to your product pages and abandonment from the product page is the number one problem you want to solve, persuasion and everything else I spoke about before this applies. But if your problem is the next level, which is people are adding product to cart and the cart abandonment is very high, it could be a range of issues, but it could be that the shipping is too expensive. There's lack of trust. You've incentivized them to add to cart, but not incentivized them to check out. So there could be a ton of reasons. In addition to that, I've already spoken about this, but if you see, very subtle, almost no design effort. In this case, you can achieve this without a developer, and you can achieve this without any experimentation. I'll give you the easiest way to do it. Edit the image. People don't leverage their product images enough to make their website look better. For example, if you want to add trust seals to your product page, you don't need a developer for it. You don't need to add it to the product page. The hero image of your product, edit that image, go to Canva, edit that image, and add those trust seals to the hero image of your product and upload it back on your site, and you're done. So every product will then have trust seals, and those trust seals are relevant to that product. Like in this case, this says sustainable. I would go 10 levels deeper and then talk about different things that matter for that product. I'm sorry about that. But for example, if I'm selling linen goods, I'm going to talk about the quality of linen, where it was produced, maybe the age of the linen, and a ton of other things. So it's important that we do that. Moving further, in this case, for example, the moment I pick a variant, the add to cart button becomes black. And so this is a very subtle. So that's why we've also left the business logo in the example. I recommend you go and check it out after we're done with the call. But this is the easiest, most you could say relatable example to what a real nudge is. This is nudge. So again, we spoke about mind one and mind two, system one and system two of your brain, and this is exactly where you are not pushing the customer too hard. I've seen a lot of businesses do timers. I'm going to show you a timer example next. They're done the worst way. There is a timer running on the site probably all the time. For example, there's this site called slickwraps.com, and I've seen this. Yeah, so you know what? The first time I saw this site was 2017. It's 2024, and they've had this timer for 2 hours and 49 minutes on the site for the last 7 years, and they're running the exact same thing for the last 7 years. Can you believe it? So that's how not to do a timer. Now let me show you how to do a timer. It's to keep it extremely, extremely subtle. And here's a sale that's running. And actually the timer is going to end and it's never going to come back on your site till you're running a sale again, which is an actual real sale. That's the way to do a timer. I'll give you an even better example than this. Don't do a timer for sales at all. Just do a very simple timer which says, if you check out by the end of the day today, so if it's 2 o'clock wherever you are, if you check out by 5 p.m. today, we will ship your product the next day, right? And just count down to 5 p.m. every weekday. That's all you want. What you're doing is you're incentivizing the customer to check out so that they get the product early. All of our customers are spoiled for choice. Amazon delivers everything probably 5 minutes after it's going to start happening. They're going to drone products into your houses. So Amazon is going to start delivering in minutes instead of hours. So I strongly recommend using timers wisely. They don't take away from your brand if you do them in a subtle way, if you design them well, if you make sure that they look good. Moving further, this is the way, again, this is the way to do this is without damaging your brand. I see a lot of businesses not leveraging an exit intent pop-up in the way that it should be leveraged. For example, you could do exit intent pop-ups in 100 ways. This is one such way. Hey, you know what? You can still get 20% off on your order. Now, we have an example. We have a magazine store that we work with, and I've given this example before. And in their case, they had a very high cart abandonment rate. And for exit intent, for a month, we ran a survey. So what we would do is the moment somebody was exiting, we would load a survey on the screen asking them, hey, why are you leaving? And we gave a bunch of options. The business had a hunch. The hunch was that either it was the product price or it was the shipping price. And shipping is a huge area of contention. Most businesses are trying to figure out a way to do shipping in a way that they don't lose customers and so on and so forth. And so we figured out that shipping was the number one problem. So about 2% of the people filled the survey and all of that said the shipping is too high. So we had to solve it. And how we did it is we ran a similar pop-up to this saying, if you check out in the next 10 minutes, we give you a 50% off on shipping. But we only did it with people who had a $10 or more product in the cart and they were abandoning from the cart. So we did not do it for everyone. What that did is it brought down their cart abandonment rate by 50%. So they stopped losing half the carts they were losing because the customer got a 50% off on shipping. So that's you could say data-driven optimization. You've looked at several insights. You've looked at the cart abandonment rate being high. You've looked at the survey responses. You've looked at the customer, the client itself, the business owner saying, hey, I know this is the problem because they can just walk down to the magazine stand nearby and go and pick up that magazine. I'm trying to get out to suburban customers and they feel that paying $4 or $5 or whatever it is for shipping is too much and I don't want to eat into my margins. I said, okay, how much money are you okay to give to your customers for shipping? I can give them half. But only if I cannot do it on all of my shippings. And okay, you know what? You're not going to do it on all of them. Customers that are already buying from you will keep buying because they're not exiting. Only the ones that are exiting will get this offer. So that's the way to use exit intents. Right. Brand philosophy, brand story should be everywhere at all times. What are the 5 things you stand for? Is it your quality? Is it your customer service? Right? Is it your pricing? Are you the best, most aggressively priced product in your category? Make sure you carry that through the experience. I feel that these subconscious nudges convince the customer as they go through the journey. And sometimes we forget about them in the cart page. And I think it goes a long, long way when we do that. Free gifts are amazing. This is one of the best ways. So I, in fact, thought of doing a free gift once along with the timer, saying, hey, if you check out of this in the next 10 minutes, we'll give you a free gift. But to configure it right so that they never get it again is the right way to do it. So, free gifts are fantastic. You buy 100 Nespresso pods, you get a grant of coffee tin, and then, that's one way to kind of do it. The other interesting way to do it is let the customer pick their own gift. I, for example, buy food for my dog on this website called Super Tails, and for there, if you every time I buy from them, they let me pick the gift that I want for my dog. So it's really a fun experience, and I have picked a gift every time. And trust me, I don't buy dog food from anywhere else because of the delight that is attached to buying dog food from them. And then finally, save information for future orders. Really simple. This is a very, very simple nudge, but this improves repeat visitor conversion rate by at least 30%. If you've saved the address information and if you've nudged the customer to do that in the right way. Shopify's default checkout does a horrible job of this. So I think the way to solve it is there's really no way to solve for default Shopify checkout. But yeah, I mean, if you can convince your customers to save their address with you, your repeat visit checkout goes up significantly because the checkout experience is that much simpler. It's essentially 3 clicks and they're done because the credit card information is in there, the address is in there. So all they've got to do is just go ahead and check out. All right. So that's everything I have today. The intention is to get after your customers' intuitive minds and not be. In today's ideas, I wanted to make sure I emphasize on the fact that nudges can be done in a subtle way. You don't need to strangle your customer's brain. You don't need to push them to do something. You don't need to lose out on the way your brand looks. And I feel that it's important that we understand that. Also, every brand has a story. You just have to find it. So tell it well. I'm open for questions. I think we have a bunch of time. I want to be able to gift as much of your time back to you as possible. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you, Simon. I hope this added value. But yeah, I'm here for questions for a few minutes. So please, bring it on. I'm just trying to load the Q&A, but I'm unable to see it for some reason. So try and bring it up. I know there's a question in the Q&A, but I'm not able to open the Q&A section. Would you mind putting the question? Whoever's put a question in the Q&A, would you? Okay, no, I can see it now. When it comes to listing your warranty, free shipping, and return policy on product pages, should you link to the pages that describe them, describe on the product page, or neither? I would not link it. I don't want my customers to go anywhere from the product page. I would, however, make sure that the information is adequate. It means that they should, like, for example, a 30-day return, like the logo saying a 30-day return is pretty self-explanatory, right? Unless, of course, if you have a fine print to the return, which is never a good thing, but it should be a no questions asked return. Consumers are spoiled for choice. And so you've got to kind of build that cost into the business and into the margins sometimes. As they say, return to source, RTS, is one of the biggest problems that plagues D2C companies, which means a lot of customers have the luxury of returning products, so they exploit it. So that's something to kind of think about. But the right way to do it is to not redirect customers. I'll in fact give you one, I'll do you one better. I wanted to look at some data, build a funnel in your Google Analytics. GA4, as much as we all hate it, is capable. So we hate it because it's new. So everybody, nobody likes change except for if it's change for good. But GA4, trust me, is. So you can go to the explore section of GA4 and build a funnel. Check how many people go to your FAQ page. Everybody has an FAQ page. And how many of the people that visit the FAQ page convert. That conversion rate will be at least 50%. Because only your highest intent customers are going through the effort of scrolling all the way down to your footer and then clicking on FAQ. And that's the problem. So one of the other things I would recommend you to do is move your FAQ into your product page. So the more information, the better, but keep it subtle, keep it simple. Don't, kind of increase the cognitive load for the customer. As I said, nudges, unconscious. That's the rule to follow. Is what I am adding to the site unconsciously visible to the customer? If the answer to that is a yes, you can add it. But if it needs the customer to spend time on it, to look at it, to understand it, to then it's something that adds cognitive load. The only thing that should do that on a product page is the description. Everything else should be subconsciously visible. I'm a little unclear on the best way to implement the email pop-up. Have it pop up later, not have it at all. What is the optimum? 100% have email pop-ups. Your email list is the single most important asset you're going to build in the long run. And I know individuals that have their own subscriber list of more than 100, 200,000 people. And they publish stuff that they can sell to that list once a year and they make millions. So your email list is the single most important asset. Please, 100%, I'm all for pop-ups. Here are the things that I recommend not doing. Don't have a pop-up in the first 30 seconds of the customer's journey. Number one. Number two, make it easy to close the pop-up. Number three, the incentive for the pop-up has to be meaningful enough and it should not hurt the business, obviously. But that doesn't mean give more discounts. It means you can do pop-ups in a way that that doesn't, that isn't no value for the customer. Like a 5% off on a $100 product, it's okay. It's not going to change my life. And so if I'm someone, that doesn't want spam in their inbox, then I'm not going to subscribe. The real goal of your industry, because if you have a customer that's converting and is ready to pay full price, and the only thing your pop-up is doing is giving that customer a 10% off, there's no use of the pop-up then, because you're anyways going to get their email when they check out, right? So you had their email anyways. The goal of your pop-up is to get those people's emails who are not yet ready to buy, maybe, or maybe need another couple of visits, some thinking, etc., etc. So that's the way to think about incentives, and that's the way to think about pop-ups. I'm just giving you some first principle answers. So here are the things that we have seen work. So William, a literal answer for you now. Here are the things we have seen work. Gamification works really well. You could do mystery boxes. I can try and see if I have any examples that I can kind of bring up. Let me just try to. I'm kind of behind on my bookmarks here, but yeah, there are a ton of ways to doing pop-ups in the way that they are gamified. Okay, this is one mystery box, for example. Hey newbie, welcome to support. Here's an exclusive deal. Tap here to reveal. So if the customer doesn't know what's really going to happen, I click on it is when I get my 10% off on your first purchase. Enter the email. Now I'm someone who saw this about 45 seconds to a minute into my journey. So I know what the product is, but I'm still thinking. I'm not decided yet, right? So the pop-up is loading on the home of the collections page. And I'll give you my email because if I buy, there's a 30% chance I'm going to buy. But if I buy, I'm going to need this coupon. And the fear is, and I'm going to probably give you the keys to the Lamborghini now, but the fear is if I close it, it's not going to come back. And that's the important or the best way to make sure you pop up. So what I would do is the moment I hover on this, I would just show a small message saying once closed, it does not pop up again. That's it. And make sure it doesn't pop up again. Right? So now your customer has insane FOMO. They saw the pop-up, they saw the 10%, they know it's never going to come back, and they will give you their email. So that's how you grow it. So congratulations, your email opt-in rate is going to be 10% after this. Your email list is going to grow 100% in the next 6 months. I'm really happy for you. So yeah, that's the way to do it. This one is really suggestive, but I still want to show it. In this case, it's a scratch card. So yeah, I can just scratch this, and I could kind of see what's happening. And this is a product again that is relevant to a certain kind of audience. So yeah, if they don't go incognito mode, you know what? You're absolutely right, Brandon. And I also want to fully disclose that I have never bought anything in my life from a D2C website without abandoning the cart. I always go, and the first thing I do is add to cart, go to the cart, and abandon it. And then the next thing you see is a 20% off coupon in the inbox, and you go and buy it. So I think as people from the fraternity of e-commerce entrepreneurs, we are allowed to do it. So that's how I would put it. So big close button, greater than 30 seconds, offer 15% off. That support method is cool. Thank you. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you so much, William. I'm glad I could help. Brandon has a point. Brandon has been going to incognito a lot to go and fetch coupons for sites. Brandon's a smart guy. Be like Brandon. Any other questions, folks? Mitch, I saw your message. We'll catch up real soon. I'll ping you and we should definitely meet. I hope this webinar was useful. Mitch is a legend himself. Mitch has built a multi-million-dollar e-commerce business, I think a couple of times now. Top guy. Okay, folks, I think we don't have any other questions today. Thank you so much for joining. I really hope this was useful for you, and I really hope you're going to go and implement some of this. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic weekend and the rest of your day. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. The next one is going to be even better. So I'll see you in that. All right. See you. Bye-bye.